Hello and welcome to another episode of Off-Season Grades here on the Field of 68. My name is Rob Doster. I have Mike LaTulip with me, and today we're going to be diving into the new look Michigan State Spartans, which actually, Mike, is not going to be that much of a new look. Unlike a
Yeah.
lot of the other programs in college basketball, when you look at who they are projected to have starting, four their five projected starters are guys that played in this program, not just last year, but for the last two seasons. When it comes to roster retention, I think Tom Izzo has kind of mastered that art for better or for worse. And what I'll say is this before we kind of get into any of this, because I think that the number one thing that we have to talk about here is the injury to Caleb Glenn.
Yeah.
Um, the bet that Tom Izzo is making is that he will be able to develop guys on his roster that he brings in over the course of 2, 3, 4 seasons to get them to the point where they are good enough to be high level Big Ten players, if not all Big Ten caliber players, right? And then you supplement that with a couple of freshmen that come in and pull a Jace Richardson, with a couple of transfers that come in and do kind of what Frankie Fiddler did, maybe a little bit of a higher level. So you have a bunch of Jaden Akins and you surround them with a bunch of newcomers that are going to be impact players, and you turn that into a team that is a top 15, 10, whatever team in college basketball. And it worked last year. And I think with this roster, it would have worked very well this year if Caleb Glenn had been playing. And I got an up close look at him playing for FAU last year twice down in the Field of 68 tip off in Charleston. I don't think you could ask for a better fit for what a Tom Izzo wing looks like. He is 6'6". He is an utter freak of an athlete. He's probably about 220 pounds of solid muscle. He looks like he should be a guy that should be playing wide receiver for the Michigan State program, maybe even a tight end. Shot 41% from three, can give you that look where you're playing with Cohen Carr at the 3 and the 4, and all of a sudden you have the most athletic set of forwards in the history of college basketball, and he's not going to be playing this season. And to me, that takes Michigan State from being a top 15 kind of a team to me to like back in top 25, if top 25 heading into the season.
Yeah, it's one of the guys that you and I talked about a few months ago when the commitment happened. And you just looked and just felt, man, that's a perfect fit. Really a
Mm-hmm.
perfect fit for the style of play, the way they run. He's a gazelle. He gets up and down, he can rebound. And then the shooting, the 41%, whether he could replicate that kind of remained to be seen, but it's something that they desperately needed last year and certainly need this upcoming season. I mean, I know they added Trey Ford, who's going to give them some of that. We'll see if some of these other guys can pop and who steps up this year. But you're right. I think that injury, in a similar fashion to the Ty Rodgers injury at Illinois, it just kind of shuffles around and puts the spotlight on other guys, quite frankly. And we'll get to our X factors that I think are going to need to pop this year in order for Michigan State to, I don't want to say repeat as title winners in the Big Ten, but at least be competitive and be in that kind of that mix for the top five, top six in the league.
Yeah, and it sucks, man. I love that Tom Izzo is steadfast in his look. We'll go to the portal. We are not becoming a portal program, right? We're going to get guys in. We're going to keep them around for a while. We're going to develop them. We're going to do our best to avoid having a roster with 13 new faces every single season. And I think it paid dividends for him last year. And if Caleb Glenn did not get hurt, I think they would have been as good this year as they were last year. And injuries suck, man. There's nothing you can do about it.
If you thought he was going to be, he was steadfast in that a couple years ago, I mean, my God, is he going to be steadfast in it after the concept actually turning into a title
Mhm.
last year like he did. I mean, now you feel like it's double down city now for Tom.
Yeah, and he actually went out and got some transfers. So let's get into what this roster turnover looks like. You lose Jace Richardson, you lose Xavier Booker, you lose Trey Holloman, which um, some positive and some negatives there with him not coming back. You lose Jaden Akins, which again,
Yeah.
I think probably
Huge.
more positives than negatives that you're losing, but it's not exactly the perfect basketball player. And Frankie Fiddler is gone. They added Trey Ford, a transfer from Samford, who was at Mississippi State before that, who I am familiar with from his JUCO days, who is an absolute flamethrower when he gets it going. Divine Ugochukwu is there, a sophomore transfer from Miami, which I think is going to be a bench piece. And they added a bunch of freshmen that are that should be good. Cam Ward, Jordan Scott, Jesse McCullough, but are more probably more developmental guys. And then you get Jeremy Fears back, you get Cohen Carr back, you get Jackson Kohler back, you get Carson Cooper back, and all those guys are known quantities. And I'm just going to go straight to my X factor here, Mike.
Yep.
If your program is a program that is going to be built around the concept of player development, and you have a guy in Jeremy Fears who's in your third year with the program, Cohen Carr, third year with the program, Jackson Kohler, fourth year with the program, Carson Cooper, fourth year with the program. They have to take leaps, right?
Yep.
The X factor is, does this bet that Tom Izzo is making on being a program that relies on player development come to fruition with the players that have been there for enough years to be developed at this point?
I love it because it ties into my X factor as well. I think Fears last year and just the
Mm-hmm.
retention of Fears, the retention of Kohler, the retention of Cooper, that retains your system. Fears was the engine of that pace. And Kohler and Cooper, for as much as people, and Zapala was in there too, but like as much as people were like, oh, Kohler and Cooper, it's like those guys know what the hell they're doing in terms of what their role is. They want to rebound. They want to eat glass. They play with fire. They want to accept the challenge defensively. They want to throw their bodies around. Like that is all very, very um, valuable for a team. But I'll get more specific with my X factor, and part of it goes off of the injury to Caleb Glenn, but it's kind of the combination of Cam Ward and Cohen Carr because those like that's where the spotlight turns for me. And I'll even get more specific. I mean, Ward's a bit of a tweener, but we've seen the ability for Tom Izzo to make use of those guys. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
look at Brandon Dawson and Xavier Tillman and these guys over the years that
That's his thing. Like his thing
yeah,
is finding the guy, the Draymond Greens of the world. Like I go all the way back to Raymore Morgan. Like when for the throwbacks, like I watch Caleb Glenn play, and maybe it's just because they're the same size and they have the same hairstyle and they both wear the headbands, right? But like I watch Caleb Glenn, and I'm like, oh, that's Raybar Morgan all over
yeah.
again. So those kind of undersized tweeners that don't really feel like they shouldn't have a position are the guys that are just the absolute studs for Michigan State.
Because of the system.
Hmm.
Like that's a big part of it. I mean, I know a lot of those guys have turned into NBA players, and they probably would have turned into NBA players regardless of where they went. But I think a lot of their ability was accentuated because you know that we're a team that's going to play fast. You know that we're a team that's going to try to beat you on the glass, and like there's just a confidence that you have collectively as a group that trickles down to the individuals when you know what the hell you want to do night in and night out. And like, hey, this is what we do. It's our identity. That's all huge. Cohen Carr, I just I just want to say this because, and I want to get ahead of this because I think there's a very real possibility that we're sitting here in February and talking about this guy as a almost no doubt top 20 pick in the NBA draft. And if we
Interesting.
do, and if we do, we're all going to also look back and be like, oh yeah, duh. Like 99th percentile athleticism, a guy that if you look at some of the stuff in the offseason, the jumper's smoothed out a little bit. And I don't even think it's a thing for Cohen Carr that's like, hey, he's got to be able to make shots. Because I think we've it's been proven in the NBA that you can have at least a cup of coffee and stick without having a reliable jumper if you can do all these other freak things that I think Cohen Carr can do. Part of it to me is some of the ball handling stuff. Like, can you make your guy miss and then, combo up and make a second guy miss? I mean, that's kind of the stuff for Cohen Carr. But I firmly believe that we are going to be sitting here later in the season. I'm really planting my flag here. And we're just going to be talking about him as like hey, can he go in the lottery? Is he a top? Truly. And like he has all of those tools. And so we talk about guys popping. Who's it going to be? Player development, all those things. He was deer in the headlights his freshman year. And then he's just kind of slowly come along. And last year he was whatever he was, 9 a game. He would be my guy on this team that is not only the X factor, but like a real breakout candidate. And it would
Yeah.
not shock me at all.
Yeah. Cohen, when I said the player development thing, like specifically Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears.
Yes.
Yeah. Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears. And Fears, we can kind of, I'm willing to write off last season because of what happened at the end of his freshman season. Like when you get shot, it takes a while for you to come back from that. especially when there are very clear things that you have to work on as a player. And the most important thing is working on getting healthy before you can start working on your game. Now he's got an offseason where he doesn't have to worry about recovering from a gunshot wound, and he can worry about, oh, you're the point guard of a team and you took 1 3 per game last season, right? Crazy stat, by the way, which is why I think Trey Ford's addition was so important. Why I thought the Caleb Glenn one was so important in terms of what they got coming back. They are returning a grand total of 3 3-pointers attempted per game from last season for Michigan State. So getting in
Yeah.
a guy in Trey Ford that will gladly get up 12 in a game if you want to let him get up 12 in a game. I think that there's a reason why
It's
that
very it's
addition.
very Bryn Forbesy
Yeah,
is with him. Like
yeah.
he can shoot off platform.
That is actually a fantastic comparison.
Yeah.
That's exactly who Trey Ford is.
Off movement. And again, like and this is a very underrated factor of like you can say, oh, I'm going to play for Michigan State. They play fast. We get up and down. It is a real thing as a shooter to adjust to playing with that pace
Mm-hmm.
because it's a different type of cardio. You got to have your legs under you. You got to be shot ready more often to eliminate when you get tired. And I'm looking at Trey Ford specifically. Like when you get tired, there's this upright nature that comes over you when you're playing, and you got to fight that to be able to continue to run the floor and be shot ready. And I think that's going to be something where I want to see if he can adjust early in the season. I mean, Samford can play a frenetic pace as well. So I think there's a little bit of that he can be used to with some of like the buckyball stuff. But it's an adjustment at this level. And so I'm very, very excited for him because I think he fits like we've already referenced Brandon Dawson and Raymar Morgan and Draymond Green and Xavier Tillman, all these guys of Michigan State's past. And I think Trey Ford is another one of those type of guys, like an Aaron Harris and like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
go as far as like Aaron Henry because Aaron Henry was just like a really good athlete too, and Trey Ford's not necessarily that, but Forbes for sure, just a guy that could shoot on the move, play with that pace. That's a really good addition. And then real quick, Ogachukwu, real quick, I'm
His
willing,
name is Divine. Like you got to if your name is Divine, you got to be a hooper, man.
and and I'll say this, man, how dysfunctional that season was for Miami. I'm willing to give
Mm-hmm.
Divine like a almost like a pass, right? I mean, I was 16% from three, 17% from three, and you could look at that and be like, I mean, he didn't take many. I think he took 34 last season, but my antennas go up when you are 6'3" and finish at 61% from two. And he was a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio guy. And you see him in the open floor, and he's a really good athlete for
Mm-hmm.
for just like his frame and his size. Like that is one that, again, like we'll get into the offseason grade and expectations and all that, but I'm looking at 4 returning starters from last year's title winning team. I'm looking at guys that they've added that I think really fit, their system. And I don't know. I'll save it for what we got coming here.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. All right, so expectations for me, I kind of already hinted at this, but significantly downgraded with the Caleb Glenn injury. I
Yeah.
would have had them. I've said this on all the Big Ten episodes, but it's Purdue and then everybody else in the Big Ten this season, and I think Michigan State would have been right there with the likes of Illinois and Wisconsin, and probably not quite at the same level as Michigan, but Indiana's in that mix. Would have been right there as one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten, top 15 kind of a team in America for me with Caleb Glenn. Without him, I think they're closer to top 25 ish with upside if things end up panning out. But I would have a very hard time ranking them inside my top 20 in the preseason right now without Caleb Glenn.
Yeah, I don't think they're a top 20 preseason team. I think they should be hovering around, given the retention, they
Mm-hmm.
should be hovering around that kind of like I think 22 to 25 range. But I think despite them having the ninth which is, I think, according to some of the uh, Vegas, right? They have the ninth best odds to win the league, and which is crazy.
What?
It's crazy. Go look at that. Fact check me. That's something I saw this morning. Ninth best odds to win the league, and I just think they're a team that's I think they're going to be heard from in that top five, hovering around that top
Without a
five.
doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they got what I would call like double bye upside, meaning you get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament, a top four seed. And if you're a top four seed in the Big Ten tournament, you're very likely a top 6 to 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think that's what we got on our hands here with Michigan State. So definite tournament team for me that I think has real second weekend upside despite the departures and despite the Caleb Glenn injury.
Yeah. So they're all I'm seeing right now that BetMGM has is them at plus 3,000 to win the national title, which puts them right there with Illinois, UCLA, and then Michigan and Purdue are ahead of them.
I don't
So
want to promote any other sports books, so I'll just say it's something I saw this morning.
if you can get them at as the ninth best odds to win the Big Ten, like let me get some action on that. Off-season grades. Um, I'm giving them a B plus because I don't think that you can ding them for a grade because of the injury,
Yeah,
right? Like they did the work, it just was bad luck. Without Caleb Glenn, I believe that it is a C plus off season with if you're going to factor in the bad luck of getting hurt. But I think you got to give them a B plus because there's like they didn't rupture his patellar tendon. You know, it's just
they didn't.
a fluky thing that happens. So I'm going with a B plus that is a C plus in kind of totality.
I'm gonna go kind of in the middle of that. I'm gonna go with a B. And the rationale behind this is I didn't think there were any huge needle moving additions. I know we've talked about the things we liked from a lot of the guys that they're bringing in, but I think when you start going down the line of like this guy has to pop, this guy has to pop, this guy has to pop, what do you get? This guy needs to level up. Like when you're playing that game and it's not, the high floor that you would, maybe expect. I mean, again, I could talk out of two sides of my mouth here because the high floor stems from the system that they have, and they brought back some key pieces of that. But I'm comfortable giving them a B because there aren't many coaches in America that can take that B and bake it into an A plus, like I think Tom Izzo did last year. So I think that's kind of where I kind of tag them. But again, I still think all the other things I mentioned are, can be true. I think they can be a top five team in this league. I think they can be a double bye team. They can be a top, 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. And if they get all these different pieces we're talking about to pop, why can't they continue? Why can't they contend for the league again? Why can't I know Purdue? It's tough. Like Purdue, it's hard just with what they have coming back. It's not the same as last year. But they
Look,
should be.
just
They
well,
should.
let's get in front of this, right? For the Big Ten this year, when we say contend for the league, it's like they got a very real chance of being the second best team in the Big Ten because it's Purdue's league, man. It is what it is. You just got to
Yeah.
accept it. Listen,
Well, what's
Mike,
what? Real quick, sorry, not to cut you on the outro, but when you talk about winning the league, this is why Michigan State won it last year.
yes.
It's not just like, hey, we need to knock off Purdue and knock off Michigan. Like those are great, and those are ones that maybe get you the tiebreaker in the end. But it's what you do on like a Tuesday night in Happy Valley. It's what you do on a Tuesday night in Piscataway, right? Like that's where the league is won. The like good teams that win the league don't drop those games. And that's why Michigan State won it last year, is because the system that they could bring to every single game, in addition to the Jace Richardson pop, allowed them to just keep churning out wins. And I think you're going to look up this year, and if it's middle of February and you're like, holy shit, they're 12-3 right now, that would not shock me at all.
I'm laughing because there used to be this the one of the go-to things was for Lionel Messi. Like, is he the best soccer player in the world? No, because what we do on a Thursday night when they play at Stoke, right? Which is kind of funny these days. Well, what happens on a Tuesday when you play in Piscataway? So I was laughing about that. Listen, Mike, it's always a pleasure, man. Always good to hear from you. If you guys enjoyed these Field of 68 off-season grades, we'll be rolling them out pretty much daily from now until September and maybe even more. Hopefully, we'll get as many as 45 or 50 of these done for you guys, the fans. So for Mike Latulip, my name is Rob Dosser. We'll see you on the next episode.